modern flower border that survives. 90 degrees Fahrenheit heat. Coneflower. Black-eyed Susan. I want to solve a very specific problem today. You want color. Real, genuine, eye-catching summer color. But you also live somewhere that hits 90 degrees for weeks at a time, and every time you've tried to build a beautiful flower border, it's looked incredible in June and completely wrecked by the end of July. Here's the good news. That's not a you problem. That's a plant choice problem, and it has a genuinely elegant solution. Today, I'm building one complete flower border, from the ground up, using plants that don't just survive 90-degree heat. They were essentially born for it. Coneflower and black-eyed Susan are the backbone of today's border, and I'm going to show you exactly what to layer around them to take this from wildflower patch to genuinely modern designed border. Because heat tolerance and good design were never mutually exclusive. Most people just never learned how to combine the two. Before we start, comment below and tell me this. What's the flower border in your own yard that's already given up on you this summer? I want to know what we're replacing, because I have a feeling today's border is about to become its replacement. If you're new here, welcome to No Fail Garden. This channel is all about the green, growing, living side of garden design. Subscribe, because today's border might be the most heat-resilient thing we've ever built on this channel. Let's build it, layer by layer. Layer 1. Why these two plants actually survive the heat. The science behind the backbone of today's entire border. Before we plant anything, I want you to understand why Coneflower and black-eyed Susan specifically make it through extreme heat when so many other flowering plants collapse. Both are native prairie perennials, meaning they evolved to handle exactly the conditions that break most garden center annuals: full baking sun, extended dry spells, and genuinely punishing summer heat. Once established, both plants develop deep, resilient root systems that reach far below the surface for moisture, which is precisely why they shrug off heat waves that leave shallow-rooted plants wilting by mid-afternoon. They also thrive specifically in full sun, genuinely needing at least 6 hours of direct light a day to bloom at their best, which means the exact conditions that stress most flowering plants are the conditions these two actually want. This is the entire foundation of today's border. Everything else we add is chosen specifically because it shares this same heat and drought resilience, not because it merely tolerates it. Comment backbone if you've never actually planted a genuinely heat-native perennial before, only garden center annuals. Layer 2. The midground. Coneflower and black-eyed Susan together. Where the real color and volume of this border lives, Coneflower and black-eyed Susan sit in the midground of the border, the zone that provides the bulk of the color and visual weight the whole design is built around. Plant them in generous, repeated groupings rather than scattered individually. This is genuinely one of the biggest differences between a border that looks designed and one that looks accidental. Space plants roughly 18 to 24 inches apart to allow proper airflow between them, which also happens to be one of the best natural defenses against fungal disease in humid summer conditions. For color contrast that reads as intentional rather than random, pair the classic purple-pink coneflower directly against the golden yellow of black-eyed Susan, a combination that's been a reliable pairing in perennial border design for exactly this reason. It's a color contrast that works every single time. Comment NID ground if you're already picturing exactly where this pairing goes in your own border. Layer 3. The vertical layer. Russian sage and salvia. Height and airy texture, without sacrificing a drop of heat tolerance. A border built entirely from coneflower and black-eyed Susan alone would still look good, but it would also look somewhat flat, all sitting at roughly the same height. This layer fixes that. Behind or interspersed among the midground planting, add Russian sage or salvia for genuine vertical structure. Both bring an airy, silvery green, delicately textured presence that contrasts beautifully against the coarser, broader leaves of coneflower and black-eyed Susan, and critically, both are just as drought-tolerant as your backbone plants, meaning you're never compromising resilience for height. The visual effect this creates is genuinely underrated. That softer, hazier vertical layer behind bold, solid-colored blooms gives the whole border a sense of depth and movement that a single height planting simply can't achieve. Comment vertical if your current border is all one height and you just realized why it looks a little flat. Layer 4. The texture layer. Ornamental grasses. The modern detail that separates this border from a wildflower meadow. This is genuinely the layer that shifts today's border from pretty wildflower patch to modern considered design. And it's one most people skip entirely. Weave ornamental grasses through the planting. Little blue stem or switchgrass for a naturalistic prairie feel, or a more refined grass like sedum if you want something slightly softer and more contained. Grasses add a completely different kind of movement to the border, catching light and swaying with even a light breeze in a way that solid-form flowering plants never do. They're also, unsurprisingly, some of the most drought-resilient plants available, meaning this texture layer costs you nothing in terms of the heat tolerance the whole border is built around. Comment grasses if texture is something you've been missing from your borders without quite being able to name it. Layer 5. The border edge, sedum. The finishing line that ties the whole bed together. The final planting layer is the one most people genuinely overlook, the low edge where your border meets the lawn or path. Sedum, particularly a variety like Autumn Joy, is one of the most naturally drought-tolerant plants available, and its low, tidy, succulent form does double duty here. It hides the bare lower stems of your taller mid-ground plants, and it gives the entire border a crisp, defined edge, rather than a blurred, sprawling one. This edge layer is genuinely a small detail with an outsized effect. It's the difference between a border that reads as intentional from the moment you look at it, and one that just sort of trails off at the edges without a clear line. Comment edge if your current borders have never had a proper defined edge and just fade into the lawn. Layer 6. The layout principle. Drifts, not scattered singles. The single decision that makes this border look designed instead of random. I want to slow down on this one because it's genuinely the most important design decision in the entire border, more than any individual plant choice. Never plant single specimens scattered through a bed. Plant in drifts, clusters of odd numbers, typically 3, 5, or 7 of the same plant grouped together, repeating that same cluster size at intervals along the border. Odd numbers read as more natural and less rigid to the eye than even numbers, and the repetition of drifts, rather than one of everything, is exactly what separates a designed border from a plant collection. This one principle, applied consistently, is genuinely more responsible for whether a border looks expensive or amateur than any individual flower choice you make. Comment drifts if you've been planting one of each variety instead of proper repeated clusters. Layer 7. The establishment watering rule. The only watering knowledge you actually need for this border. I want to close the practical side of today's video with the single most important watering fact for this entire planting scheme, because it changes everything about how much work this border actually requires. During the first growing season, water regularly and consistently while root systems establish themselves. But once established, typically by the following year, this entire planting palette needs remarkably little supplemental water. Roughly 1 inch of water per week, including rainfall, is genuinely enough for most of this border under normal summer conditions. During an extreme heat wave specifically, watch for wilting and give a deep soak early in the morning rather than during the heat of the day. This is the payoff for choosing heat-native plants in the first place. A border that looks genuinely lush and colorful while asking remarkably little of you once it's settled in. Comment established if low maintenance but still beautiful is exactly what you've been looking for. The full border reveal. Standing back and looking at the complete planting, Coneflower and black-eyed Susan as the color-rich backbone, Russian sage and salvia adding airy height, ornamental grasses weaving texture and movement through it all, sedum defining a crisp edge, every single plant grouped in confident, repeated drifts. This is a border built to look genuinely designed, not accidental, and built specifically to survive exactly the heat that wrecks most summer plantings. Is this the border your current summer garden has been missing? Tell me honestly. One complete border, 7 layers of decision-making, every single one chosen specifically to survive real summer heat, without sacrificing a genuinely modern, designed look. Here's the full build one final time. 1. Why Coneflower and black-eyed Susan actually survive heat. 2. The The midground, Coneflower and black-eyed Susan together. 3. The vertical layer, Russian sage and salvia. 4. The texture layer, ornamental grasses. 5. The border edge, sedum. 6. The layout principle, drifts, not scattered singles. 7. The establishment watering rule. Go back to your comment from the start of this video. The border that's already given up on you this summer. Tell me, honestly, could this exact planting scheme genuinely replace it? I want your answer in the comments. And if you've already got Coneflower or black-eyed Susan established somewhere in your garden, tell me how they've held up this summer. I read every single comment, and I reply to as many as I possibly can. If today's video gave you an actual plan instead of just inspiration, hit that like button. It's the fastest way to help this reach someone else whose border is currently wilting in exactly the heat this one is built to survive. And if you're not subscribed to No Fail Garden yet, this channel exists to prove that beautiful and resilient were never opposites. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Because the best border isn't the one that looks perfect on planting day. It's the one still looking beautiful in the middle of August. Until next time.